DTI fam, what is good? Just finishing up a 6-mile run. It is a beautiful Sunday out here right now, and I've been having this thought that I'm going to touch on for the past few days. I've kind of written up like just some bullet points because it's something that I want to dive deeper in on the podcast, but I'm also realizing that this season there's something about the podcast that just feels more polished. It feels more, I told Freddie, it feels more mature. And I think that a big part of that is like we're coming in prepared. We really give the topics a lot of thought, where sometimes we would just dive in before and just kind of go off the cuff and not really have time to digest or give the appropriate thought to certain things, because some of the things we talk about are big ideas. They are, I don't want to say profound things, because I don't think anything we talk about is that crazy or outlandish. It's more just, it takes time for us to like articulate our thoughts and really wrap our heads around what we actually want to say. So for me, this run thought today is really going to be me just trying to get some of those thoughts out, kind of see where my mind goes, so that when Fred and I do sit down and do the podcast, I just have better cohesion, a better flow. And honestly, I might forget what I talk about and then go in a completely different direction, because that happens too, because our trains of thoughts, they aren't just set in stone. They aren't the thing that we're going to think forever. And I'm someone who's really big on your mind changes, your ideas change. And so I'm okay with being fluid in that and letting the ideas just kind of evolve over time. So the idea that I want to touch on today is going through the motions. And I think that a lot of times when someone says going through the motions, it has a negative connotation on it. And I just kind of want to change that. I don't think that it necessarily needs to be this way. The place that I feel I go through the motions the most, and not that I do all the time, because I don't want it to be taken that way either, but there are times where I feel like, I don't even know if it's necessarily true, but I feel like I'm going through the motions with faith and things like that. And the reason I say that I might go through the motions with my faith is that there's times where, well, let's kind of back up a minute. I've been trying to read the Bible more. I got a Bible study guide that I'm trying to get into. I am listening to worship music a lot more, just to replace other music and just kind of the things that I'm putting into my head. And then I also listen to either sermons or a book that I'm reading is faith-based right now, so I listen to that on runs, just any kind of podcast around faith. So I'm just kind of widening the knowledge and the inputs around faith. There's a lot out there and everybody articulates things in different way, and I just want to be able to kind of take that in. So there's times where I feel like I'm going through the motions here, and it's because I don't necessarily want to do these things. I don't always want to listen to the worship music or get into the sermon or get into the Bible, but the more that I do it, the more that it becomes a habit, and the more that I am actually energized to do it. And the example that I want to use today is, we tell people, if you don't want to go to the gym, just go. Go do a few workouts, a few sets, you'll feel better afterwards. And that workout, that one individual workout in the plan might be going through the motions, but doing something is better than doing nothing. You're still making forward progress. And so the same should be true in any aspect. And for me, I'm looking at that in faith. Even though I might not be all into it in the moment when I crack open that Bible, or when I put on that song, or when I put on that sermon, by the time it's over, I'm typically feeling so much more full than I was beforehand. And so I'm just trying to lean into the idea of being okay with going through the motions. I feel like it's just this thing that's just weighing you down. Oh, I'm just going through the motions, trying to get by, trying to get through. But at the end of the day, you're doing the thing. And for me, we preach doing hard things all the time. And for me, the hard thing is my faith right now. It is praying, it is reading, it is worshiping. And so at times, yeah, it feels like I'm going through the motions. It feels like I'm just doing it to check a box, but it's still growing my faith. It's still getting me closer to God. And at the end of the day, I think that something is better than nothing. And I'm not going to speak biblically on this. I don't know enough. And that's another place where I just feel doubt. And I feel like I'm not qualified. I actually just talked to some friends about this, but I also know that God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And so if I'm feeling this pull towards more faith-based things, I need to be okay with sometimes you're not going to want to do it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't get done. So that's the gist of the run thoughts this week. I am going to give them some more thought, might write on them. It's not my week for the newsletter, so it won't be coming out until after the podcast. That's something we do, but just kind of want to wrap my head around that and get you guys thinking, so that you kind of know where the podcast is at, and then like you can have some thoughts, and feel free to comment on this, comment on the podcast, DM me, I don't care, whatever you guys think, whatever you guys are feeling. I want this to be a place to generate conversation. So love you guys, and we'll see you next week. Peace.